Yes, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Bootcast podcast. I'm your host, Justin. I'm here with my fellow co-host, Colby. Colby, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good. It's a little bit later recording than normal. So,
yeah, I was going to say we're up later. How's Dadhood 3.0 going?
Dude, it's just all sleep deprivation, man. And if you think about it too much, like it'll drive you crazy. So you just have to know, like when your sleep score is like 30, 20, you got to keep rolling, bro. You got to keep rolling.
My little one is like a 1.5 now, and like we're finally at like sleeping through the whole night.
Oh, nice.
So it feels so good. So I empathize with you because I was just there like 3 months ago.
Starting over was a choice.
Yeah,
it wasn't the best choice, but it was a choice.
Okay, so we got a few topics we're going to get into tonight. But before we do that, favorite number 23.
I think we're going to have the same guy.
We should have the same guy.
That's true, yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Jamie Carragher.
Oh God.
No. That's not my real pick, I swear. I'm a Liverpool fan, but I'm like, Jamie Carragher wasn't. Daniel Agger, I thought was a bit better. Maybe Martin Skirtle, too. Anyways, but it's David Beckham. Of course.
Beck's number 23, Real Madrid. His career over there wasn't bad, but it's not what it should have been. I'll say that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you watch the documentary, right?
Oh, of course. I binge watched it.
How the media treated like his wife while they were in Spain. I'm like, holy cow, the stuff they could get away with back then. I mean,
you know what's crazy
get away
too?
With stuff.
Like, think about how like much abuse they went through all that in that time, and social media didn't exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, can you imagine that?
There's nobody defending you at that point. Because if they had said some of the stuff about her, like, online, there were so many people to come to her defense, but it was just, like, the worst tabloids. Like, she's bored. She hates Spain. She doesn't like the food or something. I can't remember what she said about something.
I mean, even if that's true, like, that's not really the worst things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not a reason to, like, totally dunk on somebody like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But, all right, let's get into this. So we've had some new releases come out. We've had some boots teased, everything. So you want to start us off? Where do you want to start it off with?
I want to start with the boots that got released today. The Puma, Puma Ultra. What is it? Ultra 5 Carbon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like I can't tell if this is like the actual Ultra, if this is like their Crazy Fast Plus / like concept-y kind of version. I don't know what this boot is.
I mean, it must be like, because they did their prototype version already, and now they say that this model is limited, but I mean, there's still, you can go to soccer.com and pick up a pair in my size. So, but like, let's just talk about this boot for a second, man, because this boot is like, it's insanely aggressive. It's probably like, I can't think of a more aggressive boot that I've seen. It's got these wild studs like that are supposed to give you traction in all directions, but those. Ugh.
Okay, so for starters, the only boot that comes to mind that like I think aggressive wise can compare to these were the Vapor 8 and the Vapor 9, where Nike was like, we're gonna make everything so you can just go like in a straight line as fast as possible. So have the two giant studs. But yeah, we were looking at pictures of the Ultra Carbon 5, and that sole plate looks like you're walking on like high heel stilettos, but like all over.
They're like so long,
long, very oddly shaped. I don't know how I feel about it genuinely, because I was kind of excited when we saw the teasers, and I was like, "Oh, this looks interesting and different." But the more I see them, I'm like, "This looks so unsafe."
Yeah, well, when we saw it, I was like, oh, well, this is just like a prototype model. They'll put like some finishing touches on here, maybe give you like a few half conicals to really balance this out. And it's like, nope, here's another pair for the mainstream.
I was like, compared to the prototype, it's just the graphic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that's changed.
So like, to me, it's like, okay, so this could be like a mainstream boot. I haven't looked. I want to go to soccer.com and see. I'm like, are y'all still marketing this as FGAG? Because you would be sending people to the freaking ER if that's the case.
Yeah, there's no way that. I don't even think that this is FG. Like, to me, this is almost an SG boot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, those studs look long. They look narrow. Like, I haven't worn them, so obviously I don't know. But based on pictures alone, I'm like, guys, these look so unsafe. Like, you
Yeah.
know how like
Okay.
Noah's all about like, oh, the future, like the sole plate is unsafe, the
Yeah.
sole plate is unsafe. That's how I've never felt that way about a boot until I looked at these and I was like, oh my god, Jesus! Like you're a Achilles, you're a fucking ACL, everything.
ACL, MCL, yeah,
Like my
everything.
knees are
Everything's
hurting
gone.
as I look at this picture. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, and it's a cool concept though. Like I feel like if they had kept the carbon fiber and then just changed like the stud pad, like if you gave me like a future like 1.3 future Z like 1.3 stud pattern on there where it's like half conicals, like it can still be a little long but not bad, and then you give you that like responsive like feel to it, like yeah, that's not too bad. But this is just straight up like I don't even know how, like I'd be scared. I would not let if I was a parent, I would not let my teenager or kid like play in these either. Be like,
Yeah.
no.
Like, can you imagine those on turf?
Oh no, no! And like in some mom is gonna buy their high school age kid these boots. They're gonna go on turf and just like it's gonna be over at that point.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I will applaud Puma for this because it seems like this is the first boot in a while where they're just like, "Hey, let's really try to push the envelope and like do something different." And so I know that this is kind of like their, like I said, their Crazy Fast Plus kind of. It looks like their upper version. Like, I think that we're gonna have a regular Ultra 5, but I mean, as a concept boot, I really think that they've kind of knocked it out of the park. I just don't know if that concept is really translating into like reality.
Right. Yeah. It is so weird. And then I watched J Mike's review. And you know how they always kind of say like Tottenham, like they're Spursy, like they do something to always like kind of F it up. I feel like Puma's kind of Puma-y, where it was like they still can't get the length right, man. He was like, these are still too long, but I can't go down half a size because then it would be too big. It's like one of those like, Puma, you got to get your sizing right. Like that's been the main complaint with every future since I believe since the Z. I don't know if it went on before that, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I noticed too that he talked about it in the video, but like how much toe lift that thing has. They like these look like the most track sprinter style, boots I've seen in a long time. Like that raised toe. Like I know that some of the X line from Adidas has had kind of that raised toe, like the Ghosted and all those, but this looks like almost like an inverted angle. Like it's like boom.
Yeah. Like, how are you? And he kept saying, he's like, I was messing up my passes, my shots. Like, it's like, I just feel like the amount of like mental hoops you'd have to jump through to wear these boots and want to wear them in a game. Like, they would have to be, like, you'd have to be a super fast winger or something. Like, I'm trying to think about who this boot would benefit. It'd have to be a winger that played on, like you said, like almost like SG surfaces, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who else would benefit from a boot like this.
I don't either. Again, I'm sure like somebody like Jordan Pickford is going to end up wearing them in the goal. And, he'll have like this world class performance in the Euros. But yeah, just again, I applaud. It's like on one hand, I applaud Puma for really trying and like, I mean, swinging, but it's like they're like right on that line of like, in baseball terms, like foul ball. Like it's like kind of going foul, then kind of coming back in. So
yeah.
I don't know if I'll pick up a pair. This is kind of one of those boots that honestly I probably wait for one of our friends or Noah or somebody like that to review. And if you ever find them, but definitely cool.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a boot for thee, not for me, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think we'll probably see Noah in a pair of these doing a I don't know if he'll do a play test. He might be
I don't know.
scared.
I would be like and I'm all about like I'll wear my Preds on AG no problem,
Yeah.
But yeah, those like I said, I keep looking at the pic. I've got the picture right here, and I keep looking. I'm like, Jesus, my like legs are just like tensing up. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think I did see the only pro player I saw wearing the prototype model was Kyle Walker. He wore them through a game.
Oh, okay. Didn't
die. So this was a couple months ago when they first released the prototype model. So
yeah, I wonder if they're gonna wear them in the FA Cup final. If he'll wear these, or maybe Dallo. Who else? Varane can't. He'll tear his knee.
Maguire wears Ultras, doesn't he?
Yeah, Maguire and Varane. They're probably both injured. Who else? The Brazilian Beyblade probably wear them.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's really it. That wears Puma for menu.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cool boot, just not for me as of right now. That's tentative. We'll see. Okay, let's keep going on. So we've had some more leaks. We've seen some firsthand boots on hand, and Adidas has done some like official promo work. What do you think about that new F50 that they've just unveiled?
Dude, I'm excited, man. I mean, like Adidas has absolutely perfected the like nostalgia hype equation, and it's at all-time highs, man. Like you could not make me more excited for an F50, dude.
No, that's awesome. I like the route they're going with what is it, like a modern classic where they take a boot and it's basically reimagined and brought into it. I think it's smart to use that chameleon colorway. You know, we've seen the images, the promo work. I don't know. I don't know how I feel yet.
Yeah, well, I watched James Boot Wizards. It was a comparison video. It was a comparison video on the X Speed Flow versus the what's the new F50, because he has the prototype model. It's a little bit small, but he has a prototype model, so he hasn't actually been able to wear it. And he was saying that the upper is more, the upper is more Speed Flow in terms of like the what is it, like the poly urethane texturing. And kind of like the thinness of the upper and how it feels. And then the sole plate is actually more geared towards kind of like more kind of old school, like some conical studs in there. They don't have the carbon fiber insert, so there isn't as much snapback, but it might be a more comfortable ride because it's not so rigid. So it was really cool to see that comparison, and like that's a boot that speaks more to me because I do like some stiffness to my sole plate. It's not the be all end all. And I know that the Speed Flow has been talked about as one of the best boots in the last few years. So I'm excited. Like if that boot can fit my foot shape, like it's definitely going to be it's probably be one of the first speed boots I try and actually hold on to in a long time, because like I haven't been a huge fan of Vapors. I didn't mind the Speed Portal as much as some other people did. That one was okay for me. But yeah, this one looks amazing. But I think you're right though in the fact that it's not necessarily like it's not bringing. It's kind of the same thing with the Pred, where it's like, yes, we have the F50 name, but it's not exactly going back to like that type of era for the upper.
Well, before I move on, which version do you think you're gonna wear? I mean, I'm assuming you won't wear laceless. Do you think you'd wear like what is it? It's not the 0.1 anymore. It's just the Elite.
Yeah,
or do you think you're gonna wear like the Elite Plus version, the one that Halti has?
I think I've got some questions about how that tunnel is gonna work. Like I don't want to say it looks. I don't know I don't have it in hand. Obviously, and I don't want to say it looks cheap, but I feel like, I didn't mind the way they did the tongue on the Predator because it is like free floating. So I don't know. I'll have to see. Like I haven't made up my mind yet. I don't know where we moved to where the Plus model is a U-throat tongue and the regular Elite model is like knit. You know what I mean? That used to be reversed, so it's just kind of weird to me. So, but I'm assuming the knit model would have potentially better lockdown. So. I don't know. I'll have to see.
I think out of all of them, I don't know which one I'd try, to be honest. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of keep thinking about it, and I'm like, but I want to bring up this point because I've brought this point up before, and I know we've talked about it. But remember how I told you before how Adidas keeps doing this thing that I've noticed where they have it's almost like they have two teams working on boots. So if you look at it, it was like, with the X line, they had like the X Ghosted, right? And then they did the X Speed Flow, which was like similar in some veins, but it was kind of its own beast. And then instead of like developing on the Speed Flow, then they did the the Speed Portal, which was closer to the X. And then they did the Crazy Fast, which is just kind of a softer Speed Portal. Yeah. Okay. And then now the Speed Portal has turned into the F50. And they did the same thing with the Predators. You remember I told you that's kind of what they did. They had like the Mutator, then the Freak, and then they went like way over here with the Edge, and then it's like, oh no, let's come back over here, and then we'll do the Accuracy, and then they've gone kind of in another direction with the Predator Elite. So I'm really baffled in good ways and bad ways, like how this keeps happening.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how you go from like A, B, C back to A in some ways, and I think that this model, like the upper, does seem very like Speed Flow esque.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so maybe, like you said, like maybe there are different development teams for like the materials and everything, and so this was kind of like the child of, you know, the makers of the Speed Flow. I don't know if they do different teams. I don't know what they do, but it is kind of funny because like in that order, if you go like Ghosted, Speed Flow, Portal, it's almost like we should have skipped the Crazy Fast and just gone straight to this model. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know when Adidas just clicked on and said like, let's completely cut out the X. Let's go back to complete nostalgia. And like I talked about on this podcast, I know that for the Copa line this year,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to pull some of like the naming from the Mundial. So yeah, so it just seems like I don't want to. I don't want to call it a cash grab because it's not entirely, because like the Pred is a very very good product. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you hadn't slapped the tongue on this, like this is one of like the best boots that's come out this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it has nothing to do with the fact that like they put the tongue back on it and like did things for the sake of nostalgia. But when that quality does meet like, you know, what we've known previously, it does kind of make it even better.
Yeah, and like that's what I think is cool is like I said, it's modern classic. So like for me, the current Pred is very much a modern Mania. Like it's a synthetic Mania, unless you have the Rotero, but it's a synthetic Mania. And then this new F50 kind of, it looks almost like, yeah, like a 2014 F50 Addy Zero. You know, had a baby with a Speed Flow. So again, it's like a very modern version. So I am curious, like you said, this is one of the first times in a while that like a speed boot I'm like looking at. I'm like, I would actually really, in a way, like to try those.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm also like, I just love the Pred so much. I'm like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you could ever pull me out of those.
Yeah. Let's talk about this real quick because we just talked about a boot in the Puma Carbon version, right? Which is an incredibly aggressive sole plate, but very like speed boot innovative. Like this is like the most snapback sprinter type boot you could get versus going towards something where Adidas, I feel, took a step back in terms of like the aggression on their sole plate. Like, is there one that speaks to you a bit more? I know that you wouldn't go full into like the Puma, but like which direction, I guess, do you like? Do you like speed boots that have more kind of triangular conical studs, or would you like something that's like pure bladed, pure all different directions, stiff?
I don't know if I really care either way, to be honest. Like I don't think I play at such a intensity or such a level that would really play a big part. Like because like for example, I love, you know, the semi triangular pattern on like the Rotero and my edges, but then on the reverse end, the Luna is like all blades, and I absolutely love that one too. Which, side note, if anybody watched Noah's GX2 1 month review, he ended up reviewing the FG plate, and he did not shit all over it. He was like, okay, if you play with these like on natural grass, it's actually pretty good. And my mind literally like exploded right then. I was like, and I even commented, I was like,
finally,
I was like, dude, hell is freezing over. Like I've been right twice with Noah. I'm like, I'm stacking them up, man. I'm stacking these rights.
It's funny because like when you say stuff and it's guys, this is like the Rotero's like the best thing ever. It's so great, so great, so great. We're like, Justin, shut up. And then Noah comes out and he's like, guys, Rotero. We're like, oh yes,
dude. That's how I always feel. People are like,
just thumbs up.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're stupid. And then Noah's like, hey, I really like these. And everybody's like, I love those too, Noah. I even read his comments. Awesome. I'm like, damn, everybody's gassing up Noah, and I've been boasting about these. But
oh my goodness.
No, yeah. So again, to round it all off, like I don't really care either way. Like for me, the whole thing is whatever's comfortable. So I guess I usually will lean more towards the triangles because most blades, you know, it's just thinner pieces, so you're standing on less. Yeah, like that's way more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it, and I think I told you, like I like it. I like the speed portal / crazy fast, and then I feel like this is even like I really enjoy that because like I said, like I've torn my ACL on my right knee a couple times. So anything like I would wear a speed boot if it was like the F50. Like that's perfect. Um, so yeah, so I would I don't know. I could see this boot being really big. Like I don't know if it's going to be this generation Predator big, but I think it's going to be very very big. And it's mind blowing that it's all within the same year essentially.
Oh, for sure. And I'm really curious to see if they're gonna really play on like the nostalgia colorways like the Predator has, because that's gonna be.
Oh, of course.
Well, that's gonna be the hard thing. Is like how are you gonna do packs? Because
that is tough.
Certain Predator packs aren't, or colorways that we think may come down the pipeline may not match or didn't exist on the F50. You know what I mean? So. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of go back and forth, because I think that's like, remember we talked about that that one Predator colorway, like it was like the white with the pink and the blue and had like the weird battle pack path. Clearly that's inspired by the 2014 F50, the pink and blue one. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see which ones they choose and how they correlate.
Yeah, I mean they could honestly like do it very very cleverly. I know that like sometimes with packs like they don't always kind of sync up. Like I feel like, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I feel like Nike's very much like we're gonna paint all these boots the same color, and Adidas is like we'll kind of have like a little pop here, a little pop here. So they can do it. They can do it a little bit differently, but like you said, I don't know if they'll match exactly a like for like with previous nostalgic boots, but
Well, here's a question for you. Do you like when, okay, if you had your way, would you do it to where there's like packs like we know it now, like World Cup packs where like everything's white with a red accent color, right?
Yeah.
Hypothetically. Okay, so do you like those kind of packs, or do you just like where like it's like individual packs? So where like each boot kind of just does its own thing, and maybe they all have like orange as one color coordinated, but there's nothing about it. Like the one I go back to is when ACC came out, right? For Nike, the Mercurial Vapor 8 was the teal with the orange, and then the T90 Laser was like this bright red with like navy blue and Volt, and then the CTR 360 Maestri 3 was, I think it was the yellow black one, and then the Tiempo was that black and orange one. That was Legend 4. So, like, nothing really coordinating between the three of them besides having ACC. So, like, do you like when, like, if let's say with the F50, the Chameleon comes out and I don't know, the Lunar Pred comes out and then Copa does its own thing. Like, what do you think about that? Or do you like
that? I like that better. I think that's cool. I think that's very unique. It kind of reminds me of the the Euro 2012 Nike pack, where it was like kind of in the similar vein, but like that's the one that was divided down the middle, wasn't it? Yeah. So like it's sort of in like the same vein, but everything gets a different color, right? So I prefer that, or I prefer them all to be a little bit different, but like in the same theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you described.
Yeah.
Like rather, because and like I'll kind of top this off by saying, like, if you look at everything Nike's done this year with the Mad packs, right? Or Ready packs, excuse me, the Ready packs, where it's like Mad Ready, Peak Ready, Brilliant, whatever, like Rising Gem. It's all kind of the same thing, just pasted over, and like it's starting to get very very boring.
See, and that's kind of where I go back and forth. I like a lot of times, like if they use like one color almost as a base, and then they all kind of like splurge off of that. Like what's a really good example? Like 2022 World Cup pack, I like that one. They all kind of had the copper from Nike. They all had like the dark blue and the black and the pink, but they were vastly different looking. But then on the other end, like you go look at like the Adidas Parlay pack, and all three of those boots are essentially copy and pasted. But I guess maybe the colorway that they did it. But I really loved that pack. Like I love that Parlay pack. So I go back and forth.
Yeah, that is kind of tough. Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't do it sequentially. Like Nike's doing it right now, where it's like, God, this is so boring. Like you've gone from like teal to silver to pink, and it's like, dude, just give me a break. I know they kind of slipped that like SoCal pack in there too, which was,
Yeah.
was a little bit different. Like that was actually like the most different that they've done in quite a while. But everything that they've been doing, almost since they launched the GX2, has just been so like there's nothing unique about it. There's nothing super special. It's literally like you said. It's just we're gonna take a color swatch and we're just gonna like copy paste over all of our silos.
See, and part of me thinks like I think that it would be really cool if brands would just start doing like packs for tournaments. So Copa America, Euro, World Cup. Those are the ones I can think off the top of my head. So it's like when you have those tournaments, all their silos kind of look copy and pasty.
Yeah.
But then like in the regular season, it's like, oh yeah, we just used like white as a color was our main color, and then all three boots, for Nike look. We did whatever you want from there. It was just all white was the main color.
Yeah, exactly, and I like that. I think that's awesome. I think that would build excitement around tournaments and get everybody excited, because then it's like, oh wow, like this is like the like tournament pack for the World Cup or whatever it is, and like everything else is kind of like okay, but then you're waiting to see what that pack's going to be. I think, like you said, that would be awesome. That would draw a lot more attention to it as well, because it would be kind of like a once a year, once every 2 years type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Because like part of me thinks that with that Rising Gem pack that came out, it'd have been cool like if each silo, like because it's a gem, if they use like a different gem. You know what I mean? Like, or like with the Tiempos, how they did the emerald and the pearl.
Yes.
Like, yeah, so the Rising Gem, like one's a diamond, so it's more, silvery, and then one's a pearl, so it's more white. One's a sapphire, so it's blue. Like, so that way you get like some differentials, but it's like, oh, like that's the gem pack or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that comes down to manufacturing costs and the use of the dyes and everything? You think it's like, well, we just want to like save as much money as possible, so we're just going to paint them all pink.
Exactly. If you do everything pink flying it, you only have to make so much pink flying it. You don't have to have like 40 different, so you just turn and burn. With these packs, especially for Nike, that's what they seem to be wanting to do, is like every 2 weeks to a month there's a new pack coming out.
Yeah, how long can they rest on their laurels like that? That's what I want to like. We can go ahead and bring it up. We can just kind of transition to this topic, because what was that pack actually called? The pink? No, sorry,
the Mad Brilliance
pack. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's pink. It's gonna stick out. Like, but then at the same time, Puma's got that yellow pink pack. So how much is it gonna stick out?
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like at this point for Nike, they just need to trend in a different direction. I think Adidas is really like kind of taken most of the marketing hype this year, and I think even New Balance, and I think Nike's just kind of like, we're Nike, like you're gonna keep buying, so we don't really have to do anything, Like, it's funny because like they're a company that's supposed to be like unique and different. And ironically, they keep doing very similar things, So it's just like, guys, come on. Like, let's see some more creativity, I guess.
Yeah. Right now, I think that almost part of, I don't want to say it's their problem, but right now it seems like Nike's really focusing on like, almost to me, under the hood changes. You know what I mean? Like, they're not slapping on fancy graphics. They're not slapping on fancy coats. It's like what they're like the air zoom stuff, what they're doing on the inside of boots, or like with the GX, the sole plate, the Tiempo. I guess you could argue that the upper is kind of what is the focus of that boot. But compared to like we said, Puma doing this really over the top speed boot, and then Adidas is kind of doing what they did in 2015, where they're kind of killing everything and restarting, and they're restarting with the things that people want. So I think that's why people are buying it. Like, oh, I love these boots back in 2010. Like, of course I would love the new version of it, And like we've talked about with the Japan Blue, like that's a remake I'm still after, and I have not gotten yet. But I've seen the new version of the Japan Blue, and I'm like, I might just buy those instead.
Yeah. Like, let me ask you this. Do you think that the amount of attention that Adidas is getting is going to finally force Nike's hand to bring something back, like the T90 or the CTR? Like,
no,
at least in name.
No, because I think that just goes too much against like their core identity at this point. You know, Nike's always about it has to be new, and according to us, it's better than what we had. Like,
Okay.
let's say for example, the Legend 11 comes out, right? And it goes back to being leather. They will somehow concoct this marketing, press and convince us that the reason they went from leather to synthetic back to leather is because they have found some new leather that they've created in a factory, and it's totally sustainable and it's more malleable than the synthetic or real leather. They'll just give us some hoopla.
Yeah.
And more than likely, most people will buy into it because that's what Nike does. Like the Air Zoom in the Mercurials, that's been around since the 2000s.
Yeah.
Like that's old school. And they just brought it back. I'm like, yeah, here you go.
Here you go, guys. Yeah, I actually, not to get on too big of a tangent here, but you watched that video that Josh SR4 you put out about that exact topic, right? About how Tiempos aren't selling, the Premiers are actually selling a bunch.
Echoing what we've all said.
Yeah, what everybody's been saying. So yeah, how likely do you think they would actually do that? Like, or do you think they're going to double down and say like, no, we're going to keep using this synthetic leather?
They'll double down. They'll double down. They'll figure out a way. They'll change the pattern. They'll put some kind of texturing on it, and they will figure out a way to convince us that the Fly Touch Plus or whatever it's called is better and softer than leather. Like they will somehow do it, and that's because that's what they do. You know what I mean? But like it's like I told you before. Like unfortunately, the CTR name, it's been gone for so long. I don't think it holds any weight. The same with the T90 name. Like Phantom is kind of still around from Hypervenom, so but it would be Nike admitting that they were wrong, and they will never ever do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's
a great
the kind
point,
of brand
actually.
they are. They just won't do it.
Yeah, that sucks because I was actually really hoping we'd get even like I don't even know when K leather became a bad thing, but whatever. But yeah, that sucks because that's something I'd actually love to see. But you're right; they can't like going from a synthetic back to leather. Would it be admitting that they're wrong? And they will not do that.
They won't. They will somehow like okay. This is how bad that I think Nike is. It like how committed I think they are. They will be one of the kind of companies who would like lobby to get legislation passed to where leather can't be sold at all in the US, like on soccer cleats or football boots, and force other brands to do like synthetic leather. Like that's the kind I'm not saying they would, okay? Yeah. I'm not here to like bash them. But that's the kind of mentality that I see them having. Like, how can we we can't force people to
comply or die.
Yeah, like we can't force people to like synthetic leather. So let's just force every other company to not use leather anymore. Like, how does somebody know what they don't like if they don't have it anymore?
Yeah, and actually, like a big argument that I've heard about K leather in general is the California market, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what everybody always references is like the California market and how that's such a big chunk of the sales. So so it would be interesting, like if more legislation got passed for more states. That's I think why that's why Adidas went from doing K leather to just like calfskin leather for their Copa. So so we'll see. I mean, like you said, it just depends on how they weave the story and if they can skirt around the fact that the Tiempo Legend 10 isn't selling, but time will tell.
Like I said, I just think with the way that Tiempo's going, it's almost like they want to drive it into the ground on purpose, unfortunately. And so I think that I could see the Tiempo name after this one just going away, honestly. Just they're going to wipe it fresh. They'll be like, oh, see, Tiempo 10, it didn't sell. Tiempos don't sell, guys. We got to get rid of them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Cut the cord. Let's start over.
Could Nike survive on two silos? Could they survive on the Vapor 16 and the GX? They'd have to have a third. They'd have to create a third. If they tank the Tiempo, they've got to create something.
Yeah, I think they need a third. Could they get away with it? I mean, I think they could. I mean, based on sales, they can.
You know what they could do is they could tank the Tiempo. Like that was, sorry guys, we're not going to bring it back. Like sales weren't there. We're going to have the Vapor, the GX, and then maybe they pull up the Premier as like the new Tiempo, give that thing a proper sole plate, and I I mean, that way
Maybe.
they're not admitting fault. They're just transitioning what the Tampa would be into the Premier. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, man. They're in a really weird spot right now because a lot of people, I was gonna say, are doing 2 boots, but only New Balances. Everybody's doing 3 boots, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, even if you look at the Adidas, like technically Adidas could get away with just the X/F50 and the Predator.
Yeah.
And same with Puma. Technically, I guess they could get away with the Future and the Ultra. They don't really need the King.
They don't need the King. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like we always say that we need like a heritage boot, yada yada yada. But based on maybe it's because all the heritage boots right now are kind of shitty. Like the Copa Pure 2 is pretty
They're
bad.
just not built. They're
you know,
not
the
built
King's
well.
not good. Honestly, the Tiempo is not a bad boot. It's just not a Tiempo. But we'll say it's bad in the bad category. So I think a lot of brands could learn something from New Balance, but they won't. I think they like having 3. I think 4 is too many and 3 is good.
3's a good. Yeah, it's good variation. It's like you don't like the speed boot, you don't like the control boot. How about the touch? You know, it gives those fancy that fancy terminology. Well, not fancy, but you know what I mean. It gives enough distinction to each different category.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because you and I we've been talking about Puma a lot on this podcast and how they just need to scrap everything and start anew. And it's kind of cool to see them run off in this ultra carbon direction. So it makes me curious. Like I couldn't see Nike going back and picking leather back up, but I could possibly see Puma doing that. And I think that could actually save the King line. If they said, hey guys, like we're gonna bring leather back to the King, that would be huge. That would be dunking on Nike.
But what incentive do they have?
Sales of the Ultra being crap, sales of the King being crap, the Future being their only, proper boot, really.
Yeah, but
and even that's kind of
okay. Is the synthetic upper of the King what makes that boot bad? Is that why people don't want it? Is because of the upper?
I'd say it's the fit more than anything for me. The lockdown sucks. The heel's too low. It's a bit too narrow. The sole plate's good.
Yeah,
the leather's actually really good.
So that's what I'm saying. So why would they go to leather when they're like, based on what everybody's saying, the problem with the King is not the material. It's not like the K better is bad. It's the fit of the boot, right?
Right.
And then you look at the Copa Pure 2. You've worn them. I haven't worn them, but you've worn them. Noah's worn them. Andrew Lockhart's worn them. Like, what does everybody complain about that? The heel and the boot just isn't really that good. It's not that the leather is bad. It's just the boot itself is not that good, right?
Yeah, it's the fit because the fit of the Predator is actually much, much better. Like for my foot shape than the Pure, which shouldn't technically be that way because the Pure has like leather and the hybrid touch material, so it should, in theory, and it does a little bit like have more give and stretch, but like this is a much better fit for my foot, which is weird because like that's the leather option. So
see, and that's kind of where I'm at with these boots, and that's where I'm going is like, it's not the material that makes these boots terrible. It's just the implementation of them. Okay. So again, I think with the Tiempo, it kind of outlies because it's not a bad boot. It's just people don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you look at it from an objective point of view, what's wrong with it? Like with the Tiempo Legend 10, what's wrong with it? It's nothing. Like it fits pretty good. It's responsive. It has a good feel. Like the studs are good. Like it's responsive enough. Like everything's there. Like the whole formula is there. It's just the name, I think, is what hurts it, and it's not what people want.
Right.
But then you go to like the Pure and the King, and it's kind of the opposite. It's like it's what people want, but it's like this is not a good boot.
Yeah, it's not.
So that I think that's the juggling thing. So it's like. I don't see why these brands would go back to leather when that's not the reason these boots like the Predator, your Predator versus my Rotero. Like I like the regular Predator. The reason I like the Rotero better is just how it fits. So for me, it's not like I don't think that the leather upper changes that boot so drastically. You're like, oh no, this is the one you got to have. Like I say that because I'm like it fits better, so it's more comfortable, so people like it better. And so that I'm kind of ranting.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant because like you honestly, just kind of convinced me to like try like if they could keep the K better Puma, because that's actually a really good material. Like I want to say on here, I actually did like better than Fly Touch Plus. So if they figured out the heel on that one and actually made it a bit wider, like that would be a really nice go-to boot for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like the heel, like even for me, the heel was really shallow, so the boot always felt like it wasn't really on my foot.
Exactly.
And it's really narrow, like how the Predator Freak was. Like the midfoot is super tight, and then it kind of widens out. So again, I agree with you. If they made the back a little bit taller, if they made it fit almost like a Future Z 1.3, 1.4, I think the King would be doing way better than the Future and the Ultra. I genuinely think that. I think that synthetic leather is pretty good. But it's just the boot's a weird boot. But Puma's a weird brand.
They are a weird brand.
No, this just comes back full circle. Like Puma's just like it's like they have one guy that's just like off his rocker. You know what I mean? Like somebody was designing that Ultra Carbon, and he was like, they're like, okay, everybody good? And they're like, hey, Phil, what'd you do with the studs? And he's just like, I did this. And they're like, what the hell is that? And same thing, like he's like drawing a boot. It's like the horse, you know, where it's like the beautiful horse, and then it gets like shittier towards the end.
Yeah.
That's all of Puma's boots. Like good. And then it's the Future, it's like everything's good, and then the sole plate is just like, Jesus
Christ. They gotta fix that. They fixed that sole plate in the Future. It's back. It's back in action, baby.
Yeah, they get rid of that. What do they call it? The tape?
Oh, power tape.
Is that on the new Ultra Carbon?
I think so. I think somewhere on the top of there.
I was hoping they dropped
these proprietary technologies. You have to freaking keep using them,
dude. If Nike can get rid of ACC, Puma can get rid of that tape.
No, they didn't get rid of it. They just stuck it on all the pro models. Just
yeah,
so
okay. Yeah, but
we just kind of swept
that their flagship
under the rug. Look, we got grip knit now, right? We're gonna put that on everything. So speaking of grip knit, you had actually had a good topic earlier off podcast about the upcoming Euro tournament and how we have these Nike packs. But according to the release date of the Vapor 16, that would theoretically be released during the tournament, right?
Yes.
Before the final?
Yeah. So I've noticed that Nike especially is very, very big on like the quarters, the semis, and the finals. They kind of will almost like stealth release a boot. Like 2022 World Cup, they did the GX, right? And then I'm sure if we go back far enough, we could remember more. But just on the top of my head. So we've seen the Blueprint new Mercurial coming out. And the release date is July 3rd. That's the official release date. And as of right now, the quarterfinal of the Euros is being played July 5th. So I'm almost wondering if this pink pack is going to be the main pack of the tournament, and then towards the quarters in the end, they're going to drop another pack, and it's going to be like a finals pack. Yeah.
I mean, that would be so cool. Like if you see in the quarterfinals, like Mbappe and like a few others switching to the new Vapors, like that's gonna sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be nuts. Like that's exactly like what you said. I think the GT2 to GX probably had a little bit less of an impact. I remember thinking, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, like during the quarterfinals versus England versus France, when Harry Kane switched over to the GX ones, I was like, why is he doing that? Like, is that going to throw his game off? And I think he took 2 penalties against Lloris. Yeah, and he missed one. I'm like, was it the shoes? It probably wasn't the shoes.
No, it's because he's a choke, bro. That bum is a choke.
Because he's Spursy, man. See, we're going full circle on this podcast again.
Full Spurs. That's why he wears Skechers, because he's Spurs. Hey, that's another brand that only wears 2 boots. Huh. Just remember that.
There you go.
Yeah. So it will be interesting because remember, like even Mbappe, he wore the Superflies, and then I think it was the quarterfinal. He got like the Mbappe one where it just had the France flag on the sole plate. So I think it's super cool that Nike's going to do that, but as a consumer, that's probably super frustrating yet again.
Yeah. It sucks, dude. Because like every time you turn, like to be honest, like okay, so last podcast we're talking about the Rising Gem Pack. All right, this is 1 week. 1 week has gone by. We're talking about the Mad Brilliance Pack, and then that's gonna go. Or there was a SoCal in there, by the way.
Yeah.
And and now you're saying that we could go into this tournament with the Mad Brilliance and then switch into something else. Like that's just It's just so wild, man. That's
Dude.
like 4 colorways in 2 months.
Well, and that's what's so crazy is like everybody complained about the Pred release, and granted, it was a lot. But I bet you if you looked at the Vapor / Superfly release, it'd be even higher.
Oh yeah.
Granted, it's been almost 2 years, so it's due for a new one. But I guarantee you, like if you looked at all the colorways that dropped, because you got to include the Dream Speeds, every pack, tournament packs, special edition ones in there, like the Mbappe pairs, all that. Oh man, I don't know if a boot drops more than the the Mercurials, which makes sense. It's Nike's big one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, even the Dream Speeds, like when we got the green ones, I was like, shit, didn't y'all just like have the orange ones like not too long ago?
Yeah,
like,
straight up. I think it was a month.
Yeah, the time period between the 7 and the 8 on the MDS was like, what?
So, so before that the next generation comes out, we'll be at 31/32 colorways of Mercurial Vapor since they've been out. So in between, over 2 years. So what is that?
So it's 16 a year, basically. 32 colorways.
Yeah. That's fucking insane, dude.
That is crazy, dude.
Yeah,
that's one for every month plus 4.
That's a lot of colorways.
Yeah,
like that's a lot of colorways.
Hey, if they sell, just keep doing it. Just keep doing what you do, Nike.
I guess.
And I don't know. I don't know if consumers will ever actually kind of catch that. But so what do you think? Okay, so what's the play? So we have like the speed boot war going on here, right? We've got the Ultra, we've got the new Vapor coming out, the F50. New Balance has somewhat, so we know because we've seen the prototype of the Furon V7. I don't know exactly when that's coming out.
No, V8.
V8. I thought that was going to be sooner than it actually was. But that's got to be around the corner here, right? So this is like the entire new generation of speed boots, which is really exciting.
Oh, for sure. It's got to be. What you think that colorway is going to come out at the start of the new season, or that boot, the New Balance?
I don't know. I've heard it's. I think it's further away than I thought. I thought it was going to kind of come out in this summer window, but it could be even further out. I don't know. New Balance is an interesting cat, dude. They do things a little bit just on their own time. They're kind of like the I want to say they're kind of like the Nintendo of the football boot industry, because they just do whatever they want, and it's not necessarily always like the. It's been pretty good, but it's not like the latest and greatest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess on that we can end it with these ridiculous amount of colorways.
Yeah. All right, man.
Just a good episode, brother.
Yeah, it was good. It's very late.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's going to be the end of the podcast. If you have any topics, questions, comments you want to leave us, do it down below. And while you're there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Me and Colby are desperately trying to make money on this podcast, and we need your help, and only you can help us. So,
we're not that desperate. All right, man.
Where can people find you?
At Kicking with Colbs on YouTube and on Instagram. Send me some love.
And you can find me at Texas Cleat Collector. Same Instagram and YouTube. And with that, we will say good night.
Good night, guys.